You can take the boys from the home, but you cannot take the coffee from the hand. I see that wherever Gavin is, he's going to be hitting the fucking coffee shop immediately, promptly before going live, even though it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon and we're both going to be up until eternity. This is the Vanguard way. How you doing, dude? How you enjoying that sunny fucking weather over in New Orleans?
Oh my God, it's so nice, so nice. Absolutely loving the balmy southern weather down here in New Orleans. And we're glad to be back. I apologize in advance if there's any internet issues. Feel free to let us know in the chat if it seems particularly glitchy, so I can try to do some troubleshooting while we're live. So again, apologies in advance for any internet issues. Going to be getting an Ethernet cable, so for the next couple of live streams, it won't be an issue. But yeah, with all that said, welcome back to the Vanguard. Does everything sound okay so far, Zach?
Yeah, the audio's always been good from what I can tell over here, and I've got another window up with our stream, and it looks like the audio is good. It's just occasionally your video stutters, so the audience can live with it for today. This is a podcast after all. Yes, Gavin is not streaming from a submarine, but LOL. I also, after we shout out the patrons, TD ID forever, we'll get into that disappointing, dismal ass Chiefs game from yesterday. But yeah, the sports guard will say their piece. But first off, shout out to everybody that keeps the lights on in this bitch, that keeps us coming at you on a regular basis. The Vanguardians, the Super Vanguardians, the comrades, everybody that supports us on Patreon and keeps the wheels on our van going round and round. We wouldn't be able to do this show without you, and we very much appreciate the fact that we get to do this show.
Absolutely. Huge shout out to the patron community. You guys know what's up. Hit up that link in the description if you're trying to join our patron community and support the show that way. It's probably the best way to support the work that we do. And because of that, we do like to start and end all of our live streams with a big old shout out to the patrons for making the show possible. We wouldn't be able to do the Vanguard without the support of our patron community. We are 100% viewer funded. So we really do appreciate the support, guys. The link's going to be in the description. As I mentioned, as always, patreon.com/the Vanguard channel. Hit that up, guys, if you enjoy the show. Really, really helps out. Even just like $5 a month goes a really long way. So yeah, huge shout out to the patron community. And yeah, a lot has been going on in the last couple days. We have a very, very lively show for you guys today. Mr. Haxon Hinkle banned off Twitter. We're going to be getting into that and more. Yay, also banned on Twitter. Shout out to you, Alex, for the first super chat of the live stream. Remember that cringe Elon and Kanye pick from 2020? I do remember that cringe pick, Alex. Thanks for reminding us of that. A lot has changed since then. It seems like Elon and Kanye are no longer buds.
Yeah, I subscribe to the infinite theory, or the infinite universe theory, string theory, the idea that, there are a million possible outcomes for an infinite number of outcomes for every situation. And in none of those realities is that picture not cringe. So yes, I burned and seared into my memory, Alex, but thank you also for the inaugural super chat of the Vanguard live stream. Really appreciate that. And looking forward to chatting with you tomorrow.
Yeah, really looking forward to chatting with you, Alex. That's going to be tomorrow. We'll try to share that around with our community. And yeah, here's that infamous pic. A lot has changed since this picture was taken, as we're about to get into.
Oof.
But yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate. What was that, Zach?
Oh, I was just making an oof noise because boy, howdy. Just look at, just honestly, like, okay, like aesthetically, Elon Musk looks like he was composed entirely of like shit you would find at your Thanksgiving dinner, like just mashed potato body, fucking, just a little gravy mop on top. I'm just saying, the dude looks like mashed potatoes and gravy in this picture. But LOL, I don't know.
Yeah, super, super cringe. Thank you so much, Alex. Really appreciate the 199. And also thank you so much, Vegmoto. Haven't seen you in the chat. I'm not familiar. I don't see you in the comments a lot, but really appreciate the 333, bro. Really appreciate that. Here for the sweater guard. Absolutely.
Hell yeah, guys. I've got my sweater on because it's cold where I am. I got my Kansas City Trans Solidarity hat on. We're ready to rock and roll on this Vanguard live stream.
Yeah, thank you so much, Veg. And also thank you, Kelly. Really appreciate the 499. Thank you so much. From patriotic socialist to MAGA communist to now banned. Wow, he made Pivot look like nothing. LMFAO. Yeah, 100%. I don't even really think he's calling himself a communist anymore. I think, as I predicted, it would only be a matter of time until he just dropped the communist and went full MAGA, and that is basically where he seems at this point. And not just as he's supporting Donald Trump, but he's been out here on Twitter supporting Kanye West, who's probably now the most famous Nazi in the world.
Literally, though, isn't that fucking wild? What a fucking timeline we're living on. I know that's a very cliche thing to say, but Jesus, what a world. I mean, even just like fucking 18 months ago, I would have never thought it would have gotten here. Holy shit. I publicly said on the fucking podcast, I was like, this is just a mentally unwell man, you know, fucking, he's in the sunken place. Like, you know, remember that tweet came out? Did this look like the sunken place? LOL. Can't believe this is where we finally arrived. And yeah, look, as far as Hacks and Stinkle goes, this was the first tier channel to, smell that bullshit. Okay. I fucking knew from jump that this dude had no principles, no inner leftist principles about him. And look, he's, you know what? I'm not shedding a fucking tear for that guy at all. Fuck him.
Oh, absolutely not. Fuck Haxon. But yeah, thank you so much, Kelly. Really appreciate that. And thank you also, Brian. Ye is peddling in dangerous anti-Semitic rhetoric. Yeah, at this point, I think just saying anti-Semitic, it's downright Nazism. Like, the dude's out here praising Hitler. He's not just saying like, oh, the Jews, you know, there sure are a lot of Jews in the you know, financial world or something vague like that. Not that that's even vague, but it sounds vague compared to the actual rhetoric coming out of Kanye's mouth on platforms like InfoWars, where he even stunned Alex Jones, who was like, whoa, what the hell? What's going on with this? So yeah, really appreciate you, Brian. You're 100% correct. Always appreciate hearing from you, Brian.
Yeah, so dangerous that even Alex Jones has to be like, whoa, brother, I don't know if I agree with you there. Oh, okay, let's take a step back here. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, they're not all crazy pedophiles and business owner. Okay, well, they're not all of them. Okay, it reminds me a lot of like when Trump finally, like he has the whole speech where he's like, they're sending criminals, they're sending rapists, and you know, some of whom I assume are good people, but like, you know, everybody was like, okay, well, we all know what you're saying. Alex Jones doing that is considered pushback to what Kanye's been saying. Like, I mean, wow, this is where we are. Like, Kanye doesn't understand the dog whistle game. He just understands say what the fuck comes to my brain and be crazy. And whew, it is something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So thank you once again, Brian. Really appreciate that. And before we get into the main topic of discussion today, we're going to be going over a recent Glenn Greenwald clip. Also, thank you so much, Jerk Dad Ass. Really appreciate you, Jerk, for the $4.99. Yo, guys, what's the email again? Tried to email my YouTube launch to you guys. Check out Neo's algorithm on YouTube. Hope to maybe work with you guys. Well, thank you so much, Jerk Dad Ass. The email should be in our description on YouTube. So if you go to like the About section on our YouTube channel, it should say our email, which I believe is the Vanguard blog 2020 or something like 420, something like that. So you can find that in the About section on our YouTube page. You can also DM us on Twitter, but I'll definitely give your channel a look, Jerk Dad Ass. Can't promise that I'll be doing that in the next couple days because I'm in New Orleans right now, but we'll definitely check it out in the near future, and always down to do collabs and help smaller channels grow. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, I just found your channel. I gave the video that you had pinned a thumbs up, and I'm letting it play in my background to get you some views, Jerk that ass. So everybody else can be a comrade and just play that in the background and help this dude get through some of those initial hurdles. The first like fucking 100 subscribers on YouTube is a goddamn bitch. Gavin and I never thought we would get past 100 subscribers because that was such a long slog. Okay, so yeah, but Corey Bush had come on our show before we even fucking felt like we'd had 100 subscribers on our show. Okay, it's really hard to get over that first hump because YouTube will not promote you an ounce until you get like a couple thousand subscribers. So anyway, shout out to you, Jerk that ass. And yeah, we would love to maybe chat down the road. And it's Vanguard 2020 because that was the year we launched the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for the super chat. And again, sit tight, everyone. We're about to get into the main topic of discussion. Just waiting for a few more comrades to trickle in. Sorry, I'm a little drunk, but yeah. Thank you so much, Jerk Dad Ass. Thank you also, Hectic Gaming for the $10. Really appreciate that. With all the content that you guys have given me, this is the least I can do. Well, thank you so much, Hectic Gaming. Really, really appreciate that. And we really appreciate you for being a regular listener as well. That's obviously the best way to support the show of all is to watch the show. So thank you so much for the support, Hectic Gaming. And of course, hitting that like button as well, which I'll remind everyone to please do at this juncture before we get into the main topic of discussion. Please do hit that like button. But thank you so much, Hectic Gaming. Genuinely appreciate that generous super chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to you. Glad that there's even more regulars of the show that I didn't even know about. Shout out to Hectic Gaming. Really appreciate you guys and everybody else that tunes in regularly, because it's embarrassing as fuck if Gavin and I were to go live with nobody to watch.
Absolutely. There would be no Vanguard without the Vanguard community. So thank you all for tuning in. And again, hit that like button before we get into the main topic of discussion, which you guys probably are aware of given what's been going on Twitter today. Kanye West officially banned off of Twitter, and as is his lackey, Hinkle, who at this point is literally a simp for some of the most notorious anti-Semites and straight up literal fascists in America right now. It's unclear exactly why Hinkle was banned on Twitter, but needless to say, that is the case. I can pull up a tweet here from Primo Radical, who's a big Jimmy Dore, Jackson Hinkle fanboy kind of guy. And he says, Elon Musk's free speech platform has now suspended both Garland Nixon and Jackson Hinkle, who are both just basically Putin propagandists. And as it says here, Garland Nixon account suspended. I think that he's been suspended for at least a week or two now. And then also Jackson Hinkle account suspended. It's unclear why exactly these suspensions happened. I don't think there's been an official reason given. And from my investigation, I can't seem to find any sort of clear reason or like specific tweet that was out there that led to this. But needless to say, yeah, Elon Musk, who promised to free the bird app or whatever he said, liberating Twitter, is now imposing even more censorship than the previous ownership did. Like these guys had their platforms, they had their Twitter accounts up and going before Elon Musk took over, and now they're suspended. So needless to say, Elon Musk, who was supposed to save Twitter and make it less censorious, has actually now made it more censorious seemingly. And regardless of what you guys think of Jackson Hinkle and Garland Nixon and all these other clowns, I mean, I'm no fan of them. But any interpretation of a free speech oriented platform would allow them to post. So it's just beyond hypocritical, the fact that Elon Musk has taken this approach.
Well, I think that Elon got a real freaking wake up call when he realized that he'd over leveraged himself like a madman in order to acquire Twitter, which I don't think he ever fully intended to do. For the $40+ billion valuation was way too high, way over market value. I think he paid $44 billion, which he definitely did not have in liquid assets, which means he's got a lot of bank loans to deal with. And what happened as soon as he announced that he was going to be imposing this free speech platform, advertisers fled. They fled like fucking crazy with this fake fucking blue check mark shit. They fled like crazy again after a fake Nintendo accounts and the Mario going like this, and the fake drug pharmaceutical company put that they were going to make insulin free and all that kind of base shit. Like the jokes were awesome, but for advertisers, they were going to run scared, right? They don't want to advertise. And that's why if you guys have been on Twitter recently, you've seen all these like weird dad gadgets that are being sold to you. It's like, oh, here's how to fit an extra cup in your car. Or like, here's this doohickey that will entertain your children. And like, oh, here's a fishing rod you don't actually have to like fish with or whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? So it's because the quality and ad buys that Twitter used to require, the threshold's now been decreased because they're desperate for money. So I think this is just the obvious capitalist taking over in Elon Musk. What do capitalists prioritize over everything? Their fucking financial, their financial life. They're the black and red to them, right? Not black and white, as they say. So I don't know. This was just the natural conclusion of that to me. The fact that after all, he is a businessman. He cares about maintaining his wealth and expanding it. It's embarrassing for him if Twitter were to go under as a company. It would like completely erode this facade he's orchestrated for himself as this mastermind businessman, etc. So of course he's going to crack down on the crazies that piss off the advertisers. And one of the people who piss off the advertisers are the crazies that constantly talk about how based Putin is and how, it's funny. We've made this, analogy before, or not analogy, but rather just observation, that all of the people who are really anti-Ukrainian Nazis are really pro-American Nazis. So, square that circle for me. But anyway, that's my analysis of that.
Yeah, I think that's 100% accurate, Zach. And also, thank you so much, Renzo, for the 199. Did you guys catch Ryan Grimm on RBN today? No, I have not caught that. I've been on vacation, so I haven't been, keeping up to date 100% with everything coming out. But thanks for letting us know about that. I was not aware that he chatted with the folks over at RBN. I'm sure that was an interesting conversation.
Yeah, see, that's anybody that wants to talk shit on Ryan. How are you going to talk shit on that? That dude that dude has been fucking relentlessly smeared by Revolutionary Blackout Network. Dare I say? I mean, look, I broke Ryan's balls a lot before he came on our show. I broke his balls hard. I was mean about it a little bit. I watched that video back and I'm like, oh, I really feel bad I said that about Ryan. And he's always been really cool to me. And every single time we've talked, he's brought nothing but that dad energy. So I can understand. Like I also owe him a little bit of gratitude. But geez, I'm surprised he decided. Like I hope it was a good chat. I'm definitely gonna listen to it. But I'm like, geez, man. The Revolutionary Blackout Network was not charitable to that guy for a long time. So interesting that happened. But yeah, I mean, I'll definitely watch that. That's gonna be good entertainment for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Renzo follows up and says, Grimm's always willing to have a dialogue, which is one of the things I genuinely respect about the guy. We're going to be talking a little bit about Glenn Greenwald today, too, on today's show, who's, of course, someone that I have many disagreements with, some of which we've hashed out live on the Vanguard. And similarly to Grimm, Glenn is also willing to have a dialogue with his critics, which is something I really do appreciate. It's a really admirable quality for a journalist or commentator to have, in my opinion. Shout out to Ryan Grimm for being willing to engage with his critics. I remember he also went on Frank Analysis, Franco's show, after, Franco was viciously mean to him. And we've been viciously mean too. It's okay. Like I'm not judging anyone. We've been incredibly vicious to a lot of people on the Vanguard. So we're not above it. We're not tone policing or pearl clutching, but that's just what it is. So
I did want to say really quickly that I did personally reflect on that after the first year of success we had on the Vanguard, where I would just I would just rip fucking ass on anybody. I would just and now I try and really save it for the people who I think are not operating in good faith. And so I do want to extend I have extended apologies to people like Ryan. I was a little mean to Kyle. I was saying there's a certain thing that happens when you realize you can actually reach these people. And like I said, I'm not tone policing anybody else, but I do feel a little bit of guilt for that myself as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel too bad about it. I mean, as long as you're going after people that are bigger than yourself, it's like it's all part of the game. It's YouTube. It's not like we're a fucking intellectuals at a university hall. It's not like we're Zizek versus Jordan Peterson. Or we're talking shit. We're in the mud. That's the point. I think most people understand that. I hope so. And we don't care if people talk shit on us either. There's plenty of people out there that want to say all kinds of mean and horrible things about us. We can take it. We're big boys. We can handle that shit. So thank you so much, Renzo. Really appreciate that. And thank you, Susie Stone. Wow. $20. Super, super generous of you, Susie. Thank you so much for that generous donation. Going to the live show of Breaking Points tomorrow with my son in NYC. But we are both your patrons. I actually wish we were going to see you guys. Wow. Thank you so much, Susie. I'm sure that Breaking Points will put on a far better show than we would, although that would be awesome to do a live show sometime. We'd love to have that opportunity maybe at some point in the future if things go well for our channel. But have a great time at the show, Susie, both you and your son. I hope you guys have a great time. And thank you guys both so much for the support on Patreon. That really helps out, and as do the super chats, of course. So thank you so much, Susie. Really, really appreciate that kind message.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyle, I think, is also going to be speaking at or on the Breaking Points live show. So yeah, I think it'll be an awesome show. You guys will have a great time. Someday, Gavin and I would like to do a live show, but as I always like to say, if you can come to my bar 4 nights a week and see me do a live show any day. So shout out to you, Susie, if you're ever in Kansas City.
Yeah, Zach puts on a hell of a show for the patrons, the thirsty patrons of Kansas City. He's over there shaking his cocktails. Zach's a great bartender. He really is. Check out Afterward if you guys want a good cocktail. But yeah, thank you so much, Susie. What was that, Zach?
Oh, I was just gonna bemoan the fact that we were once again snubbed from the top cocktail bars in Kansas City
What?
list, but I know, right? The places that are not as good that I will not call out on our podcast, even though it would not be at all unto to do so. But yeah, anyway, shout out to you, Susie. Another day, I'll bitch about the local Kansas City dining scene to everybody that doesn't care about it.
And are we cool to say you don't mind saying what bar you work at, right? I don't want to dox you.
Oh no, dude, I don't give a fuck. I've had to deal with so many crazies at my bar already, guys. I got in my first bar fight at my own bar.
What? Oh,
you remember that? I told you about that
yeah.
months ago. Yeah. Fucking crazies that come through there. I mean, they installed a panic button because of that night. This is like, but anyway, yeah. So Afterward Tavern in Shells in Kansas City. It's a bookstore bar. Yeah. Shout out to the Afterward staff. Everybody that works there is a fucking great person. So I love the whole staff there.
Absolutely. They're a great crew. And some genuinely great drinks as well. I miss that Mexican Gothic cocktail that you had on the menu for a while.
Yeah, Gavin's been sleeping on our bar. I haven't seen you there in months.
I need to go back. Well, partially that's because my car's been in the fucking shop. I don't have a way to get there. But once that's done, I'll definitely be hitting you guys up again. Also, thank you so much, Hysteric Raider, for the $2. Really appreciate you, man. The Intellectual Guard Web. Thank you so much for the $2. Haven't heard much about the Intellectual Dark Web these days. I feel like that kind of dissipated.
Yeah, it's funny. Michael Brooks used to constantly joke about how he decided to write a book about the intellectual dark web, and that was what did them in. So that by the time he published it, it was completely irrelevant. Good back history and like a lot of good observations, obviously, but that was like a joke that he was consistently making at the time of it, and that was years ago. LOL. This is my dad. Shout out to you, Dad. Appreciate the $20 super chat.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mr. Polston. Really appreciate that. Coming in clutch with a 1999. Beers on me tonight. Well, I will absolutely take you up on that offer. As I said, I am in New Orleans right now, so letting the good times roll, as they say.
Laissez bon temps rouler.
Exactly. Getting a little bit, tipsy on tonight's show. Is the internet still seeming okay?
Just means 2 beers.
Internet still seeming okay on my end, Zach?
Everything's good, man.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, once again, thank you so much, Mr. Polston. Genuinely appreciate that. Hope you're enjoying today's show. And yeah, thank you guys so much for the super chats. Well, we're not even able to get into our show today yet because we've been addressing them, but that's a good problem to have, right? Really appreciate the support, you guys.
Yeah, for sure. But in honor of my father in the super chat, I do have to fucking bitch about the Chiefs for like the next 90 seconds, everybody. I'm going to bitch about the Chiefs. What a fucking loss yesterday. All right, we cannot be considered a tier 1 team unless we can figure out what the fuck is going on in our red zone offense. I mean, this is unacceptable. We can move the ball anywhere all over the field until it fucking matters. So we don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. Not every single play is going to be a bomb downfield, and since it's like breakaway plays are the only ways we're scoring touchdown for like the last 4 fucking games. And there was a couple of bad calls, but you can't blame that. There were some bad calls last night. That roughing the passer charge was absolute horse shit. Okay, don't have to get into that, but anyway, yeah, what it comes down to, and shout out to that one listener, Brittany, that was predicting this. The Bengals seem to have Mahomes' number in a way that, and Andy Reid's number particularly, in a way that I don't know. It's been a real tragic last 24 hours because we've moved out of first place in the AFC. Now those fuckers, the Buffalo Bills, who already beat us this season and are going to probably finish out the season as the AFC champs, they'll get the bye week. There's only one team that gets a bye week now. Anyway, there's a lot of consequences for that poor football playing last week. Got to bounce back next week.
Also, Zach, apologize to Brittany for insulting her.
I said, you know what? I'm sorry. Okay. You know what? I'm sorry. I thought I saw, I had Mahomes over fucking Joe Burrow. Are you kidding me? That's an easy no snap. Apparently yesterday it wasn't, man. But the thing about the Bengals is they play tough football. I don't know. The thing is I just had that memory of the Bengals earlier this season. They got beat by like the fucking Steelers. They threw like 5 interceptions in that game. And I kind of was hoping that was what we were going to go into and just pummel them because they beat us last year in a very critical game as well. But anyway, fuck the Bengals and we'll move on. Your spaghetti chili is disgusting, Cincinnati. Your airport's not even in Ohio. You got to fly into Kentucky to go to fucking Cincinnati airport. Tell me why.
Yeah, I was just telling Yana about the spaghetti chili shit. That it's a abomination, a truly Frankensteinian culinary horror.
Anybody who thought that was a good idea needs to be taken out behind the chemical sheds, as Gavin likes to say.
Exactly. No offense to our Ohio listeners, we love you, but you guys need to get that shit figured out.
I'm not eating any of your food after I found out that was your specialty. That's for sure. That's your specialty. That's the best you've got. Jesus Christ, I don't want to see the worst.
Also, thank you so much, Kelly. Once again, really appreciate that. His tweets were getting more and more cringe. Think he learned from BreadTube too much. Believe someone when they tell you who they are. Well, we told you who he was a long time before everyone else apparently caught up. But yeah, and in reality, guys, I am sad that Hacks and Jinkle has been banned, because it was one of my favorite daily rituals, was scrolling his feed and seeing like how much cringier is this going to get? Like how much more insane and deranged and fascist is this motherfucker going to go? And it was actually pretty funny. It was almost like reading The Onion or something. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem like it's going to be an option anymore. Maybe he'll create a new account or something, but we'll have to see. Either way, thank you so much, Kelly. You're 100% correct.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the other day after Gavin told me that he read it every day, I was like, fuck, I haven't checked this guy's Twitter in months. I went, first thing I saw is like, Instagram thoughts should not be allowed to post political opinions. And I'm just like, this is the most like cringy incel bullshit I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, get the fuck over yourself. You're just a fucking ugly Twitter troll, and yet you get to post all of your fucking opinions. Okay. Little shit for brains. So yeah, I mean, I guess in that sense, I will miss cringing along with Haxon. And also just it's like the most like insane, if you just took all the worst tendencies of the internet and rolled them into one person. It was like, how fast do you get a Bernie bro who accidentally had all the correct opinions, to being this like fascist sympathizing incel, just like Chad basically. So LOL. Shout out to you,
Absolutely. And yeah, MAGA communism, 100%, just a rebrand of National Socialism, which checks out with the fact that he was out here publicly simping for and defending Kanye West, who, as I said, is literally the most famous Nazi in America, if not the world right now. So yeah, 100% Drew.
Yeah, lol. Yeah, it's when I saw that for the first time, I was just like, oh. Also, whatever got Jackson banned, I think also got Haas banned too, because that his lackey, the dude that looks like he's never showered in his life, fucking that guy, he got banned too. There's a great parody account called Haas No Bitches, and you guys should all follow that on Twitter if you're not. But anyway, yeah, it's also funny. Neither of them can dress themselves, which I think is also hilarious. If you ever see them at one of their like fucking events together, they're all wearing like oversized suits that it looks like they like borrowed from their dads. It's just like the fat ties. I'm like, dude, it's not 1992 anymore. Nobody wears fat tie. Anyway,
that is so true. That is so true. Also, thank you, Alex, once again. Really appreciate that for the 199. Hinkle reminds me of the MAGA kids I went to high school with. Yeah, 100%. Oh, there's Sally. Good girl. Oh.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I was watching you dragged me. I was watching Hassan like roast Nick Fuentes the other day. And just he was reacting to this video of like Nick Fuentes and all of his like boys and their like big neon like Florida sunglasses like walking through like a fucking hotel. And I was just like, Jackson Hinkle would be right at fucking home in here. Like that's his like resting neutral, is like, just the fucking most odious scumbag incel. Just like the kind of dudes that it's just on site with. It's like you never even fucking bothered them, because if they came up to you, it's like, dude, you don't have a fucking single thing to say to me. Like, get the fuck away from me.
Oh, 100%. Total frat boy vibes, but in the worst possible way. So yeah, thank you so much, Alex. Really appreciate that. And before we get into this Glenn Greenwald clip, do as Daniel says, everyone. Please boop that like button. Get some more comrades in here so we can watch this video together. It's going to be a fun one. And honestly, pretty decent points made by Glenn, who is a self-described free speech absolutist. So it's interesting to see how, people like Glenn Greenwald, who at one point were defending Elon Musk's new Twitter, the new direction he was taking Twitter, how they're reacting to the direction that it ultimately has gone. So again, please hit that like button, everyone, before we get into this video. But yeah, did you have anything else to say about Haxon and all these other clowns getting banned on Twitter under the supposedly, uncensorious direction of Elon Musk?
You see, it's funny because I've always just kind of been okay with the banning. So I personally, from like that perspective, I don't give a shit, right? Like, you broke the terms of service because you posted a fucking Nazi flag and a fucking like Hail Hitler shit. I'm like, yeah, I'm not fucking shedding any tears for you. Or it's some guy that dog whistled about all that shit too poorly because he's too fucking stupid. Oh, sorry, Jackson, not shedding any tears for you. Right. But on the other hand, it is pretty funny to watch all of the like former fans of Elon's, like the true believers. Like, here's what's you have to be dumber than fucking shit to think that a billionaire is going to do anything good. Like, that's just what I've always understood. It's like we're passing the power from one billionaire to another billionaire. It's all corrupt, that's just my preface as we get into the Twitter dump and like everything that's going on around that later. However much we talk about it, is like Gavin and I have covered this since last year, exactly the same. The new information didn't change fucking anything for me. I know that Twitter colluded with the Biden fucking campaign. Of course they did. Why? Because like 90% of the Twitter team wanted him to win. They're a private company. Of course they're going to do that. Just like how the New York Times and the fucking Washington Post colluded to fucking get him elected. Just like Fox News had a fucking concerted investment in making sure Donald Trump won. Like, hello, these are all made by billionaires who are trying to profit to the maximum extent. They're peddling rhetoric to their fucking people. All Elon or Jack Dorsey or any of the other fuckers that came before him was engagement and ad revenue, clicks. That's what they give a fuck about. That's what it all comes back down to. Oh, who's driving the ship and who wants what to happen? Of course, billionaires control everything. Yep. The powerful control everything. So who is surprised that happened? Like, no, of course that happened. Do I think it's wrong that they're able to do that? Yes, that's why I'm an anti-fucking capitalist, and I've been dying on that hill for 2 years on this fucking show. So it's not all that surprising to me that it worked out. But for the true believers, the people who actually think about it, it is, watching their it illuminate to them is exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% correct. And obviously a capitalist corporation like Twitter that's only concerned with its bottom line. At the end of the day, it has to be. It's accountable to shareholders just like every other private corporation. Of course, they're not going to want fucking Nazis on their platform. Like, that's a toxic brand. If you're letting Nazi rhetoric run rampant on your platform, regardless of what you personally think about the First Amendment or free speech, if you're accountable to shareholders, if you're accountable to advertisers, yeah, having Nazis running rampant on your fucking platform is not going to improve the amount of improve the advertiser relationships, right? And again, that is what Twitter has to be accountable to. It's not a platform that exists to facilitate a First Amendment or free speech absolutist perspective. That's just not the point of Twitter. It's a corporation, and people seem to forget that. As much as I would like to see a platform like Twitter nationalized and become a public utility so that it actually could be the new public square, so to speak, that's not the case. It is a private corporation. It's accountable to advertisers. It needs advertisers, and advertisers don't want to advertise on a fucking site that is run rampant with Nazism.
Yep, absolutely. 100%. Shout out to you, KJ. Love listening to y'all's show from Occupy Dine lands. Comrades want to start a communist party on the reservation because settler MAGA communists are cringe. Yeah. MAGA communism is cringe. I mean, it would definitely be based. Occupy Dine lands. That's Navajo, correct? I'm pretty sure that's Navajo lands for people who are listening, but I would love to be corrected, KJ, if I fuck that up. Yeah, I mean, obviously starting a communist party on the reservation, I mean, yeah, if that's something that you want to do, then more power to you, my man. Then I would definitely support that.
Yeah, that's awesome, KJ. Really appreciate you letting us know about that. Feel free to hit us up. That'd be a cool conversation to have. Good conversation to have if that's what you're working on. So thank you so much for the $4.99. Really appreciate that. And yeah, he confirmed that it in fact is Navajo. So that's awesome. Thanks for letting us know, KJ.
Oh yeah, shout out to you, KJ, and really appreciate the super chat.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really do appreciate that. And with all that said, this Glenn Greenwald clip that we're about to get into and react to came right after Kanye West was banned from Twitter for posting a Nazi emblem or a Star of David emblem with a Nazi insignia within it, which again resulted in Kanye West being banned from Twitter. Glenn Greenwald took to his show System Update to react to this and gave some interesting commentary, specifically because of the fact that Glenn Greenwald has been defending Elon Musk and, seems to believe that Elon Musk was actually trying to restore free speech on the platform of Twitter. This is a video he posted 2 days ago saying the media's deranged hysteria over Elon Musk's restoration of free speech. So 2 days ago, Glenn Greenwald was saying that Elon Musk is trying to restore free speech. Now, 2 days later, Kanye West banned, several other people banned. He's singing a little bit of a different tune and seems to have adjusted his opinion accordingly and has kind of called out Elon Musk for betraying the supposed values that he wanted to rearrange Twitter in accordance to, which made for some interesting commentary. And I was excited to break this down, given the fact that we've had some conversations with Glenn here on the Vanguard. Don't agree with the guy on everything, that's for sure. We've hashed out some of those disagreements live on the show. But I do value his perspective on these issues. And for that reason, I think it's important to hear what he has to say.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, say what you will about Glenn, right? And he's a friend of the show. He comes on every once in a while and we gab. But the dude is a legitimate ass attorney. Okay. The guy knows constitutional law. He has a firm perspective on it. And when you listen to the guy talk, it's clear that he's done his homework. Okay. It's not easy to debate Glenn about anything, certainly not about free speech. So he definitely comes at this from a fucking principled and very informed perspective. So even if you disagree with the guy's takeaways, I still think it's really, valuable to engage with what he's saying because, he's a smart guy and he makes some pretty good points typically about, free speech that I'm sympathetic to.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, Glenn is a self-described free speech absolutist. And like I said, he's previously been fairly sympathetic, seemingly, to Elon Musk's direction or attempted direction in which he's trying to take Twitter. So I thought this commentary was interesting. We're going to react to the first 10 minutes or so of this and then react. So you want to hit play, Zach?
Last night, new Twitter owner Elon Musk personally just made the decision to ban Kanye West from Twitter after West had spent the day on Alex Jones's program saying things like, "I like Hitler," and pointing out the many things he apparently admires about Nazis. After he was done with Jones's show, West posted this symbol to his Twitter account with 33 million followers. It appears to combine the Nazi swastika with the Star of David. Shortly thereafter, Musk told West, both on Twitter and by personal text, that he had gone, quote, too far. And Kanye was then locked out of his Twitter account at some point last night, even though the account itself remains up. Both before and after Musk purchased Twitter, he repeatedly proclaimed himself to be, in his words, a free speech absolutist. One such instance was when he was explaining why he rejected pressure from various powerful sectors to block Russian news sources such as RT from inclusion in SpaceX's Starlink satellites, a position similar to the one that this very platform, Rumble, took when it was pressured by many of the same state and journalistic sources to remove RT and Sputnik from its platform. And that's why RT continues to be found here on Rumble today, even though it's now illegal under EU law to platform that news site. Now, it's very easy for someone to define themselves as a, quote, free speech absolutist. Many people love to wear that cape. It's glorifying and it signals a lot about who the person is. But like any political slogan, it requires concrete definition, lest it be nothing more than an empty and meaningless signifier of virtue. Given that everyone wants and expects Twitter to prohibit at least some content, child pornography, doxing, commercial spam, what does it mean to declare oneself in this context to be a free speech absolutist? For me, free speech absolutism, a term I claim for myself as well, means allowing any and every political viewpoint to be heard. It is, of course, acceptable to ban certain kinds of verbal expression that does not qualify as political viewpoints, such as defamation or fraud or direct threats of violence made person to person to an individual. But free speech, to me, means that every political opinion, even the most repugnant and horrifying, in fact, I would say especially the most repugnant and horrifying, is free to be expressed and that no centralized authority is empowered to ban or punish its expression. Unlike most people who apply this term to themselves, Musk, to his credit, has defined what he means by it. He wrote back in April, quote, "By free speech, I simply mean that which matches the law." That which matches the law. I am against censorship that goes far beyond the law. If people want less free speech, they will ask their government to pass laws to that effect. Therefore, going beyond the law while censoring is contrary to the will of the people. In other words, by free speech absolutism, Musk said he would only ban content which could be or has been made illegal by the government. So, for example, child pornography and fraud can be banned since that has been made criminal by the government, but expressing arguably racist and homophobic views, harshly criticizing Israel or even Jews, disagreeing with gender ideology, that cannot be banned on Twitter, according to Musk, because the law does not prohibit its expression.
So I just want to jump in here really quickly because one, Gavin, I'd be curious to know what if you think that's a fair analysis of free speech absolutism, the one that's laid out there, and two, if I guess the problem for me here is because I basically up to this point I agree with what Glenn is saying in his outline, like this is what free speech absolutism entails, but I just never really felt myself compelled at all to believe that Elon Musk was going to dictate Twitter by these guidelines. I mean, this is a notorious liar who has just fucking like stuck his finger in the wind and then changed his tune like as it suited him, not just during the Twitter phase, which we can just limit our analysis to because it's ample, but throughout his entire career, right? Like we've all heard about the Boring Company, we all heard about the Hyperloop, we've all heard about like 15 years ago he was saying he was for sure going to put a man on Mars in 10 years. Like, okay, we all know that this guy is like, he's like he's gonna sing a certain tune, right, to try and like drum up his popularity and like his prestige, and like he wants everybody to admire him as this like great genius, even though he's not. So I never really took any of his claims that seriously. Like, do you remember when he said that he was going to have all of the major decisions like done by, like, for lack of a better word, like a council of elders or whatever at Twitter? Like, obviously that never happened. There was never an official update to the terms of service, which indicated that he was going to be imposing like a First Amendment to the Constitution level policy. If he had, I might have come out and said that I support that. I think that that'll be better than some kind of obscure, opaque, free speech policy that he's like rhetorically espousing, but we don't have anything documented to, and that allows it to be a lot more selective. So I think Glenn and I would agree on that, but I'm just wondering, did you ever expect that that would be how Twitter was actually governed? Because I never really did.
Of course not. Of course not. Yeah, no, I always thought it was ridiculous that anyone actually took Elon's claims at face value, that he was actually going to improve Twitter in any meaningful way. Because like you said, Zach, this guy has lied at every turn. I remember when he was saying he was going to go rescue the Thai boys in the cave, only then to smear their, the people that are actually trying to help them as pedophiles and shit like that. So this guy's a notorious liar. There's no reason to believe he was ever going to genuinely try to improve Twitter. And, maybe if he had his own company that was not accountable to advertisers in any way and totally existed outside of the paradigm of capitalist corporations, maybe he would let it just be a free-for-all of free speech and say, yeah, anything fucking goes. But the reality is that you could take anyone from fucking Noam Chomsky to Glenn Greenwald to Zach and Gavin, put us in charge of Twitter. It doesn't matter how in favor of free speech we are. If you want to be successful as a fucking corporation, a private corporation, you have to appease the advertisers. That's why YouTube cracked down on free speech. That's why Twitter has cracked down on free speech, is because advertisers don't want to advertise on a platform that is letting Nazis run rampant. That's the simple truth of the matter. So even if you do believe Elon Musk, and even if you think his heart is in the right place and think that this guy really cares about the First Amendment and really is interested in free speech, despite the numerous examples throughout his own career of him silencing critics, firing employees for free speech, even if you're deluded and foolish and naive enough to believe that, no, he wouldn't be able to do it anyway. And as you said, Zach, let's quickly check this out, because as you mentioned, he put out this statement pretty early into his tenure at Twitter, saying Twitter will be forming a content moderation council with widely diverse viewpoints. No major content decisions or account reinstatements will happen before that council convenes. Nothing ever came of that. Nothing ever came of that. He let Trump back on Twitter based on a poll that was conducted. He's now banning people willy-nilly, and there's no mention of this council of this moderation council. So yeah, absolutely hypocritical. I think it's ridiculous that anyone would ever have believed that Elon Musk was sincere in his efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I wanted to ask you before we moved on, because I know you recently, kind of adjusted how you refer to yourself. You used to be a firm free speech absolutist guy. Now you refer to yourself as a free speech maximalist. Glenn obviously takes the time to make the point that he thinks that not as many people are true firm free speech absolutists. They're free speech maximalists. However, if the term free speech absolutism just refers to what's legal under the law, like I guess, like, wouldn't you be able to be, I'm in favor of fucking the law being the same. However, I enjoy Twitter and I don't necessarily want it to die, and every single fucking platform that decided to get rid of any kind of content moderation was immediately driven into the ground. I don't know if you saw, Gavin, but just the other day, Kanye's bid to buy Parler was shut down because he doesn't have enough money. He's too broke now. So just these things never work out. And Truth Social, might we point out, which a lot of people might add, this is the real free speech platform. No, it's not. You can't fucking even criticize Donald Trump without getting your fucking account flagged on that website. You can't, say you love Nazis on that website. You fucking, there are content moderation policies over at Truth Social anyway. So, while I guess if our two options are like, do you want to just get rid of capitalism and then that wouldn't be a problem? You wouldn't be at the bay of fucking, at the end of the fucking line for these, advertisers. Of course, I would take that option. But in the capitalist framework that we have to, operate on, I just feel like, can't you be like, legislatively a free speech absolutist, but more of a free speech maximalist when it comes to, like, online circles? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, the reason why I kind of adjusted my identification from free speech absolutist to free speech maximalist is because sometimes when I would call myself a free speech absolutist, people would be like, so what, you're in favor of direct threats of violence or child pornography? Like, technically, absolutism would entail the, absolute toleration of any speech ever. And no, obviously, I don't think that people should be allowed to post direct threats of violence without consequence, or child pornography, or defamation, as long as it's proven in the court of law. So, that's why I said maximalist, right? I think that people should be able to express themselves under the terms decided by the First Amendment. That being said, does that apply to private corporations? No, unfortunately it doesn't. And going back to what you said about capitalism, Zach, I'm an anti-capitalist. I don't like capitalism. I don't like that capitalism facilitates the censorship based on what is friendly to advertisers, because it's not just Nazism that's unfriendly to advertisers. It's also anti-capitalist perspectives like the ones we espouse here on the Vanguard. We could just as easily be banned under the corporate overlords as someone who I think is totally reprehensible, just because what we say is also edgy and what we say is counter to the interests of the capitalist corporations, right? So yeah, I am a free speech maximalist, but I also understand that under capitalism, we're not going to be able to enforce the First Amendment on these corporations. So I would love for there to be a publicly, a public utility nationalized free speech platform where people can say what they want online, in the same way that I think you should be able to go outside and yell, "I love Hitler," and you're not going to be arrested. You're not going to be dragged away by the fucking feds. You can say whatever you want. You can go outside or, go to the coffee shop and start talking about how much you hate the Jews, or, whatever the fuck you want. And as disgusting as that is, yeah, I don't think it should be criminalized. But that being said, if you're on a private platform, a giant corporation that only cares about advertisers and only cares about making profit, it does make sense why they would ban those people. And again, that's part of the reason why I'm an anti-capitalist. I don't think that these giant corporations should be making those decisions.
Yeah, I think that we're basically on the same page about that. Do you want to keep watching?
Yeah, absolutely. This does get a little more interesting as
Agree with
Glenn continues to call out Elon Musk and kind of explain the blatant hypocrisy here of his policy.
that or not, that's a coherent and easy to understand standard for how Musk said he intends to govern Twitter. Now, whether Musk realizes it or not, this is not the standard that he is now using for determining what is and is not permitted on Twitter. Over the last week, there have been numerous instances in which several liberal left accounts, including a Meteor Matters goon and some people affiliated with Antifa, had their accounts suspended despite the fact that their offending tweets could not reasonably be interpreted as illegal. The account of the Media Matters operative was quickly restored without comment when liberals complained, but others remained banned. Elon Musk's prior refusal to reinstate the account of Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes, which were accounts that had been banned under the old Twitter regime, had already raised valid doubts about whether Musk really was prepared to live up to the free speech principles he espoused. Fuentes has never been found by a court to have violated the law for things he said. And while Alex Jones was successfully sued in a civil court by the parents of Sandy Hook students, that was not a criminal conviction, nor was it for things that he said or did on Twitter. Unless Musk is prepared to ban everyone with a criminal record or has ever been successfully sued for defamation, this refusal to reinstate those two accounts made little sense, except as a decision by Musk to prohibit any views to be heard on Twitter that are not just controversial, but deeply repugnant to a large number of people, or at least to Musk personally. The exact same standard, at least in principle, that the pre-Musk Twitter and Facebook and YouTube already use when censoring. Even
Bam, and I just wanted to pause it right there, and you know, I just want to point out to everybody, and I think Glenn knows this. That's what had to happen. That was what was always going to happen. It was going to be up to the fucking indiscriminate decisions of whoever was in charge, whoever bought the son of a bitch, right? Whoever owned Twitter, whatever billionaire fuck was scratching his ass and deciding what the hell was going to go down, right? Like, I mean, I'm just being honest. It always had to be that way. Because why? What actually dictates, what actually governs every single decision that is made from a corporation or from a billionaire or anything like that? It is going to be, how do we maximize profit? Well, they both ended up at the same decision when they found out how do you maximize profit. It's by, who does the society find the most odious? Okay, get rid of them. And now everybody can, mostly by and large get along, because that's going to make advertisers happy, because that's going to attract the largest crowd. That's going to generate the most clicks, right? Pretty self-explanatory stuff there.
Yeah, 100%. Sorry, I didn't catch everything you were saying, Zach. I had to hit the bathroom, but yeah, I think I caught the tail end of what you're saying, and I totally agree.
even if Musk ends up applying this framework with a somewhat lighter touch, it's the same framework. Any lingering doubts about whether Musk was living up to his own standard for what he means by free speech absolutism should have disappeared completely last night when Musk announced the banning of Kanye West. That's because nothing West said is even arguably illegal, as shocking as it is to hear someone enthusiastically professing their admiration for Adolf Hitler. Any attempt to prosecute Kanye West for any of those statements, the standard Musk said he would use when making censorship decisions on Twitter, would be immediately and easily struck down by courts as prohibited by the First Amendment. That Kanye West did nothing illegal with those statements is not a close call or even a debatable one. The so-called free speech absolutism movement emerged in the United States in the 1960s and 1970s, in part due to Supreme Court rulings that invalidated as unconstitutional various state punishment that had been doled out to people who advocated communism, obviously widely regarded in the US as a repugnant ideology, similar to the way white supremacism and neo-Nazism are now regarded in the United States. Among the punishments found unconstitutional by the mid-20th century Supreme Court was banning anyone defending communism from practicing law or holding positions in state universities. This mounting Supreme Court defense of free speech in all its forms, even involving the most repugnant speech, culminated in the court's landmark unanimous 1969 decision in Brandenburg versus Ohio. The Brandenburg ruling continues to be the gold standard for free speech jurisprudence in the US. The facts leading up to that decision are simple. A Ku Klux Klan leader from rural Ohio, Clarence Brandenburg, stood up at a Klan rally and delivered a speech that advocated the justifiability of violence against the U.S. government if it continued, in his view, to discriminate against white people. As the court explained, for that speech, he was arrested and then convicted under an Ohio law called the Ohio Criminal Syndicalism Statute that made it a crime to quote, advocate the duty, necessity, or propriety of crime, sabotage, violence, or unlawful methods of terrorism as a means of accomplishing industrial or political reform. In essence, Ohio had made it a crime to argue that the use of violence was justified in order to combat perceived government repression. A bit ironic for a country that was founded by people doing exactly that. The only question the Supreme Court faced, the only legal question it faced in this case, was whether the First Amendment's guarantee of free speech permitted Ohio to prosecute and then punish the citizen for advocating the use of violence to advance political ends. And that court ruled unanimously that while the state can permissibly criminalize the imminent incitement of violence, such as standing outside someone's home with a gathered mob of using torches and urging the mob or directing the mob to go burn down that person's house right then, something that would predictably result in immediate violence, the First Amendment protects the abstract advocacy of violence. As the court put it, quote, as we said in our prior ruling in Noto versus the United States, quote, the mere abstract teaching of the moral propriety or even moral necessity for a resort to force and violence is not the same as preparing a group for violent action and steeling it to such action.
Okay, this is all true and this is all well and good, but I just want to keep coming back to the fact that like almost all of this is basically irrelevant because Elon tweeted a few things about how he wanted to have free speech absolutism in accordance to the law, but that policy never changed from what the TOS said on the Twitter website or on the Twitter app or any of those things, right? Like the TOS never changed. So by and large, this was all just like speculation from Elon. We never saw anything concrete that, would indicate that this was how he was actually intending to govern the platform, other than it was one of the litany of countless lies he's told in his entire tenure of being a public figure. And I just want to add that even if I would concede, which I would happily, that we would be better off if we had a very clear understanding of how people were going to be banned. And if I said, yeah, I would actually, even though I have many problems with the Supreme Court and how they've practiced justice, I would say, all right, let's hold it to the Supreme Court standard just because that gives us something transparent to work with as outside of the abstractions of the Twitter TOS and something that's actually concrete law. I would support that. That would have to, I imagine, involve some sort of nationalization of the fucking, social media companies, which I'm fucking in favor of. I'm a literal socialist, right? But I don't know if Glenn would support that in order to take those measures. I'd be happy to. I'd be happy to pick his brain about it if he's ever, comes across this and wants to chat with us. But I just think that, it's impossible to expect a private company is going to just decide to govern its platform based off of the whim and the changes of the Supreme Court rulings. Well, what if the Supreme Court rules something that's like, I'm just saying private companies are not inclined to do that unless they're forced to, right? And so I'm not sure why we should ever just take them at their word for it. If this is the issue, then the issue should be, how do we force these companies to adopt a policy that is our First Amendment? I just don't think some genteel billionaire is ever going to just be like, yeah, this is good for everybody, let's impose it even though it hurts my pockets.
Absolutely. Also, I'm on fucking vacation. Chill out. It's not that big of a deal, but I appreciate the fucking health advice. But anyway, yeah, you're 100% right, Zach. It's like saying that a library or a university just has to allow David Duke to come host a speaking event. Do I think David Duke has the legal right to express his free speech? Yes, of course I do. Just like anyone else, as unfortunate as that is, given his disgusting ideology. Yeah, he can go outside and stand on the street corner and say, I hate Jews, or whatever the fuck he believes. However, that doesn't mean that a private company or a private organization, say a university, has to host him. They don't. They're a private company, they're a private organization, whatever, same as Twitter. So, I think the same thing. I think the same thing applies there. And I totally agree with what you're saying, Zach.
They went on. Accordingly, we are confronted with a statute which, by its own words and as applied, purports to punish mere advocacy and to forbid, on pain of criminal prosecution, assembly with others merely to advocate the described type of action. Such a statute falls within the condemnation of the First and 14th Amendments. In other words, even if Kanye West had vocally advocated the moral necessity of using violence against Jews, and as repugnant as his messaging was, he most certainly did not do that. But even if he had, he would still not have been saying anything that the law does or could outlaw. Now, it should go without saying, but unfortunately it does not, that objecting to the censorship of a particular view does not require one to support the view itself. Put another way, if someone questions whether Kanye West should have been banned from Twitter due to his remarks about Hitler, as I'm doing, then that does not mean, obviously, that one shares Kanye's professed admiration of Hitler. Anyone above the age of 8, and I mean that literally, above the age of 8, should have no trouble understanding the distinction between defending the right of a person to advocate idea X and agreeing with idea X itself. Indeed, nobody back in 1969 believed or claimed that the 8 justices of the Supreme Court who invalidated the criminal conviction of Clarence Brandenburg so ruled because they secretly agreed with the Klan's white supremacy ideology. Everyone understood it was a ruling about the proper scope of free speech under the First Amendment. Those justices should count themselves very lucky that they never had to encounter modern-day left liberal political culture. Or else Thurgood Marshall, one of the justices who ruled that way, would have found himself being widely accused of supporting the Klan and of white supremacy as a result of that ruling, much the way that Clarence Thomas today so often is. This simple but vital distinction when it comes to discussing free speech was perhaps most vividly illustrated in the famous 1978 case where ACLU lawyers, overwhelmingly, in fact, almost all entirely Jewish and leftist, defended the right of the American Nazi Party to hold a march through the town of Skokie, Illinois, a town chosen by those Nazis precisely because it was a town filled with Holocaust survivors. The ACLU represented the Nazi Party and on their behalf sued the city of Skokie and won because the city had denied the Nazi Party a parade permit. Now, nobody minimally rational thought the Jewish leftists of the ACLU were Nazi sympathizers. They found the Nazi speech as repellent as anyone else, obviously, but they were defending a principle, And by doing
So yeah, this is once again a good point, but it's a little bit irrelevant because Skokie was a public square, literally a public square. That's not a privately owned corporation. It's not like a private corporation owned Skokie, right? So yeah, under the First Amendment, the Nazis are allowed to march through there. However, if you're talking about like a private space somewhere that is owned by a corporation, they actually do have the right to kind of facilitate who's allowed to tread there, who's allowed to speak there. And I think that is kind of the difference here. So I think we kind of got the gist of what Glenn Greenwald is saying. And I think what's most important here is the fact that even people like Glenn Greenwald, who are self-described free speech absolutists and who have in fact defended Elon Musk and have sympathized with his purported direction in which he would like to take Twitter, are even calling out Elon for these comments and saying, or not comments, but decisions, and saying this does not adhere to free speech absolutist perspective, one which Elon Musk has previously espoused and said that he wants to take Twitter in. So I think that's really what's important here. And, again, I do think it's pretty meaningful that people like Glenn Greenwald, who have kind of been in the pro-Elon camp, are now coming to terms with the fact that, yeah, this isn't actually a First Amendment project.
Yeah, and I think that just I mean, we're all arriving at the same place, right? Which is the fact that, okay, it would probably be better if Elon did decide, or, Twitter did decide to just govern transparently the Twitterverse through the rulings of the United States government, to just say, hey, we understand that Twitter has become such a haven for thought, and this is such a, hot water issue, right? This is such a a contentious topic that we're just gonna throw it back to the forefathers. All right, we're just gonna throw it back to the Constitution of the United States and say, hey, we're gonna dictate this by Amendment number 1 as best as we can and as transparently as we can. And here is how we will err in those kinds of, really sensitive issues where we don't feel like there's a definitive Supreme Court ruling present. So I think that we would all, Glenn, Gavin, myself, we would all agree that that's probably the best outcome. However, what just I could never get over was the fact that anybody without you'd have to support government intervention in order to accomplish this goal, which is my big question for Glenn. I don't know what his position on this is specifically. Like, is he down to go ahead and just say, all right, look, we are going to step in as a society and we are going to govern this like the town square. We are going to say that this digital platform is of such a size, it is of such an impact to culture and our society as a nation that it needs to be legislated as if it is Central Park in New York City. It has to be as free a part of America. This digital space called Twitter has to be such a part that we decided is now like a national thing. I support that because I think that there's a really sound argument to make for that, in my opinion. That's better than just letting the billionaires control what is our most robust social square. Okay. And Gavin and I, we've gotten into this before. Obviously, if grandma has a knitting thread, no pun intended, on the internet, where they can, they don't have to be subject to the same thing. But for this massive fucking overarching public square, I think you could make the same argument for Facebook, even though it's basically irrelevant now. I never get on Facebook. But you know what I mean? I think that you could make that argument. That's the only way, though, that you would ever actually get the First Amendment imposed on Twitter, is if the United States demanded it. If the government said, no, you either exist this way or you don't exist at all. I think that's the only way to move it, because there's never going to be a financial incentive there. And again, we come back to the anti-capitalist critique of this. This is a critique of the motivation that demands censorship. This is a critique of the motivation that demands the whimsy of the people to, advertisers are going to pull, let's just remove this. Let's just excise this, from our platform. And therefore, we're going to have a better time. We're going to, it's going to be smoother roads, basically just kicking out the problems. So LOL, got to regulate the grannies too. But anyway, I just think that you're never going to get that. But like, there's never just going to be a good altruistic billionaire that's going to come out here and say, this is going to be better for the world. I'm going to spend $44 billion of my own leveraged wealth. And I think the other thing that it proves is, even if they rhetorically want to, and even if they principally want to, the finances just aren't there. It will cripple the fucking site if you try and run it that way. Those are the two things we've learned. So now, even if we know if they wanted to, which who fucking knows if he actually wanted to, Elon wanted whatever was going to keep him in the limelight with all of his fucking sycophantic, incel boys, goons on the internet that think he's like fucking Thomas Edison and that's not a dig. Like, those types of people. Anyway, it was never going to happen under the leadership of somebody like that who's going to have to turn it around and make a buck off of it.
Absolutely. And speaking of Facebook, by the way, Mr. Kanye West, who's now freshly banned off Twitter, did take to Facebook yesterday to express his frustration with the Twitter policies of Elon Musk. Did you see this, Zach? So Kanye took to Facebook. This is where this was posted. Kyle Kalinske actually posted this, which is funny. He says, "Am I the only one who thinks Elon could be half Chinese? Have you seen his pics as a child? Take a Chinese genius and mate them with a South African supermodel, and we have an Elon." I say an Elon because they've probably made 10 to 30 Elons, and he's the first genetic hybrid that stuck. Well, let's not forget about Obama. I'm sorry for using curse words in church, but I don't have another word for Obama yet. Yay 24, let's unify and find out. LUAFO. I don't know what that means. But and to this, I responded with this meme. How to cope with what the fuck I just saw. Thought that was pretty funny. Anyway, truly unhinged stuff. So I guess Elon Musk also has a problem with Chinese people now. He's been going to
You mean
war. Yeah, sorry, Kanye. I apologize. I guess Kanye also has a problem with Chinese people now. Not only is he going DEFCON 3 on the Jews, but apparently also on the Asian community or the Chinese community. I don't know what the fuck being Chinese has to do with any of this. I guess maybe he's saying because like they're so censorious in China, like social media is so locked down and you can't post anything on, you can't even access Facebook or Twitter in China. So I guess that's what he's referring to. But some truly unhinged shit, and just the further descent into absolute madness and mental illness and fucking fascist bigotry that Kanye has been on. What did you make of this, Zach?
Yeah, more so than the censorship in China. I think this is more about the fact that you can really examine how Kanye is getting his information right now and from whom he's getting his information from. And I think that where you see like a real intersection is like the people who are like the just rabid anti-Semites. They're convinced that the Western hemisphere is being run by like a cabal of like Jewish elites, right? Like that is like standard practice, like anti-Semitism, right? Like this, like, and it's been the same for hundreds of years. Like they've always just thought that oh god, it was the Jew, right? Like that's their scapegoat. But those people also live in constant fear of the United States no longer being the global hegemon, right? Those people, typically the most like ravenous right-wing, anti-Semitic, white supremacist people, their entire identity, everything they understand about themselves is predicated on the United States being the top dog, being the best in the world. And who threatens that? China, right? China is the leading competing, is the competing global superpower, right? Leader of the Eastern Hemisphere, much in the way that the United States, it controls the Western Hemisphere, though not as dramatically because the United States also controls a lot of the Eastern Hemisphere, of course. But they have this like raging fear about it. They'll talk about how populated China is and how they could just demand everybody go to war. They'll talk about their fucking obviously the economic accomplishments of China. We'll dispute their tactics, but they speak for themselves, right? The growth that China's been able to accomplish over the last 15 years, 20 years has, just embarrassed any kind of growth that the United States has done, which we've basically just dwindled instead. So I think it's a real intersection of those two fears: the fear of the Jewish cabal or whatever anti-Semitic horseshit he's on, and then also the fact that like China might actually feasibly do to us what we have done to the rest of the world. If we were to fall off from being the global hegemon. So I think those two things happen. And I also will go ahead and take a stab at the fact that there was the meme going around not that long ago that was like, never ask a woman her weight, a man his salary, and what Elon Musk was doing in Cambodia from 1976 to 1979. Do you remember that? I bet you fucking nothing that Elon Musk saw that, where it was like a face mashup between Elon Musk and Pol Pot in Cambodia, right? And it was just like a face. I guarantee you he just saw that image and then he went on a fucking hysterical, fucking deranged, another bigoted rant that because he saw something that like justified like his like worst nightmare, and he's an unwell person, and he was like, oh, here, I know what I'll do, I'll tweet about it. But I would bet dimes to dollars that that's what happened.
Yeah, definitely. Plus we have this Elon impersonator in, I think, some Asian country, perhaps China, that's gone viral. Did you see this, Zach? Let me go down. This guy right here. He's like a Chinese guy that looks a lot like Elon Musk. It's possible he saw that. This guy's gone viral on TikTok for that exact reason, because he really does look like Elon Musk. But maybe Kanye saw that. Who knows? Either way,
way better haircut.
Yeah, true. But yeah, it's like, what the fuck does him being Chinese have to do with it? Like, why not just come out here and fucking be like, why did you censor me? I thought you were in favor of free speech. Like, I thought you were a free speech absolute. Why the fuck did you bring anti-Chinese sentiment into it? It's so random. It just really, I think, tells you a lot about the mental space that Kanye West is in. Obviously, if you saw the Alex Jones clips, you'll know what I'm talking about. This guy is fucking deranged. His brain is fucking broken. And that's not to say that mentally ill people are inherently racist or anti-Semitic or anything. I know people that are neurodivergent that aren't fucking Nazis. But if you've been paying attention to this guy's rhetoric, it's clear that a few links in the fucking chain mentally have been beyond broken, which would lead to someone releasing a statement like this. And it's funny too that he posts shit like this, and then like he'll just post the most insanely offensive thing, stuff that makes Donald Trump look sane and rational, and then follow it up by saying, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm also running for president." Like, good fucking luck, bro. Good luck running for fucking president. After posting this kind of bigotry and fascist fucking Nazi rhetoric. Like, again, Donald Trump, he broke all the rules. He proved that you could be an open racist and a just blatant, white supremacist and still win the presidency. But even Donald Trump never went this far. Like, even Donald fucking Trump would never post anything like what Kanye has been saying, or literally tell his followers that Hitler is based and that the Nazis were actually good. And actually, the Nazis invented the highway. So maybe we should reconsider that. I don't like talking about Nazis in a negative light because of this and that, and literally denying the Holocaust, which he did on Alex Jones. So I think that's pretty insane and pretty humorous as well.
Yeah, he just has no ability to navigate the like any kind of politics, right? Certainly not right-wing politics where it's all about like saying not not what you mean, but everything with like a wink and a head nod. He doesn't have that ability, so he just sees people and he's like, yeah, it is the X, Y, and Z group of people with not any more tangible power than the rest of us, or sometimes meaningfully less power than the average American, right? Like it just he has no ability to synthesize that and turn it into some way where he can actually sound like not smart to somebody like you or me, obviously, but smart to some absolute bottom of the barrel dumbass. Okay. And he doesn't even have that ability. He's just peddling to the people who are out and proud about how they love Hitler and think that the Nazis were based and all kinds of crazy shit. If you're so crazy that Milo Yiannopoulos can no longer work with you, what the fuck is happening? I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you're making Milo Yiannopoulos and Alex Jones and Donald Trump look like the sane people in the room, then, bro, you fucked up. You fucked up, dog. If you're making Donald Trump look like the anti-racist, damn, bro, that time to take some ayahuasca, as Cassandra Lynch says. Ye's unfortunate combo of insanity, stupidity, and ego that ayahuasca could never ease. LOL. That's funny. Yeah, someone needs to lock Kanye West in a room, or sorry, Ye in a room with just a fat dose of ayahuasca and see what happens. But yeah, I'm not convinced that could even cure the guy at this point. It's truly insane. Kanye's always been an edgelord. He's always been provocative and a contrarian. But to see him embrace Nazism, what? And you were a huge fan. I know you still are a fan of a lot of Kanye's music, Zach. I imagine 5 years ago if I told you what the fuck was going down, you wouldn't believe me.
No, dude, I mean, oh God. I tried so hard to just think that it was the it was just the intoxication with fame and being relevant and oh, he'll just say anything, and I made excuses for the guy, not through this most recent batch, but through the make America great again type of deal. I'm like, oh, well, Lil Wayne did that, Lil Pump did that, everybody did that. Okay, come on, all right, I don't know, support that, but I'd still probably take it to a show. I fucking I would. I was still yeah, okay, college dropout was amazing, kind of shit all the time. That was me. I was but there comes a line in the sand where I'm like, nah, I just don't think I don't think I could ever pay for anything that Kanye has made ever again. I don't think I could ever support him financially. I don't think there's any amount of coming back from where he's at now. And I say this as somebody who is yeah, I might even say it's hard. You can't say this now, but I would have loved to see Kanye live. I would never pay to go see him live now. I would have loved to see him, perform some of what were my favorite songs of all time. This dude put together some of the best beats I've ever heard. And Gavin can vouch for me. I have heard a lot of fucking hip hop beats. These are some of the best ever. And yet they just came from the most disgusting fucking just a literal fucking Nazi sympathizer. And it's just oof, that's hard to get over. That's real hard to get over.
Yeah, it's truly insane.
I'll still listen to Michael Jackson, but I just
Well, it's funny too. You bring that up because Kanye has said over and over again that they're trying to do to me what they did to Michael. So yeah. Anyway, it's crazy as fuck. You know, you never would have expected this. It'd be like if I said like, oh, do you know in 5 years Eminem is gonna be a fucking Nazi? You'd be like, wait, what? Like,
I would have called that first. I would have called it first.
fair. Yeah,
I will,
no, I probably
to Eminem's credit, his racial politics have always been there.
yeah, no, he's because he put out.
I don't know if
that
it's just
when
me
was
or
like the
if-
oh,
Oh.
what was that?
Oh, go ahead. Say that again because I think you cut out for everybody.
Oh, sorry. I was just talking about when he put out that kind of cringy, but also sort of base diss track against Donald Trump with like the fucking 20 black dudes standing behind him. He's like the one white dude. They're like, fuck Trump. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, dude. Also, and then having the foresight at the peak of his career to be rapping about how people are buying his records because he's a white guy and he looks like them, not because like he was like that. I always like I was like, wow, to have that perception and the song like White America, and it's all about like people just fucking regurgitating his words back to them, and he's like you don't believe anything I'm saying, like But anyway, so yeah, not to defame Eminem. Those first two records, they're bangers, and the third one had a lot of good stuff on it.
Great album.
He got cringy as hell over the years, though. I was no denying it. That remember when Ye said, dude, one of the most legendary moments in pop culture history. Anybody that's Gavin and I's age, we remember two things. You remember the fucking George Bush doesn't care about black people, which I don't know if I remember in my brain when it came out, but it's just always been a part of Kanye lore, right? And then I remember where I was sitting on the floor in my mom's townhouse in fucking Lenexa, Kansas, watching as Ye said, I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had like everybody remembers when he stole the mic from Taylor Swift. I was an ardent defender of that man stealing the mic from fucking Taylor Swift. Okay. I rode with all of those controversies. I was like, yeah, that's based, like, whatever, based. Now you can't even get excited about those moments anymore.
It's truly unfortunate. And I really wonder what will happen when or if Kanye actually puts out another album. Like, how will popular music critics, will the mainstream music establishment review it? Will they, if it's good, will they review it positively, or are they just going to review it negatively because of his descent into insanity? You guys know that I'm an ardent advocate of separating the art from the artist. But it's going to be interesting to see how, or if at all, the mainstream journalistic music establishment reckons with his future projects if he continues to put them out. Guys like Anthony Fantano with the Needle Drop. Is he going to review the next Kanye record? It's interesting to think about because he really has completely destroyed his career in a way that you can't really say about many other so-called canceled artists or celebrities. People get canceled often, but like Kanye has taken it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, I mean, this is. I think what'll have to happen is like, I mean, it's not quite this level, but it'll be like if Anthony Fantano, like reviewed a Burzum record, like if Varg Vikernes got out of fucking, I don't know if he's in jail or not. Do you know who Varg is, Gavin?
No.
Okay, so you know that line from JPEG Mafia? He's like, I wish Varg would come to be more. We gonna see. Anyway, he's a fucking like skinhead Nazi he was a big black metal guy, and he had this, and he's like, JPEG also has the other, I heard you like Burzum, bitch, not me. That he's talking about that guy. And because he was just like black metal had a lot of problems in Norway with being like just outright white supremacist, like just crazy shit. Anyway, Varg is like the biggest of those dudes. Burzum was his band. He went to jail for murder and then got out and started making music again. Anyway, he's also just like a professed Nazi white supremacist. So it would be like if Anthony Fantano was like reacting to or rating that guy's out. Like that would be like half the conversation would be like, okay, this guy is fucking disgusting. But like, so it's like you might not even want to review the album anyway, just to not give it exposure. But that's like the one parallel example I can think of at this point.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I'm not familiar with that specific artist, but another guy that comes to mind is Ariel Pink, right? One of my favorite musicians and a total cringy alt-right loser at this point. Not always that way, but unfortunately now he is a total loser. But Ariel Pink got canceled and dropped from his record labels when he was in attendance at the January 6th riot. He didn't actually storm the Capitol, but he was there on the day. He was participating in the demonstration, and he completely was excised from the music community. Someone who previously had been acclaimed among the likes of, Pitchfork and The Needle Drop and all of these popular music publications. He totally got ostracized because he was in support of Donald Trump. And like I said, he was part of that demonstration on January 6th. But if you look at a guy like Ariel Pink, he's never said anything even close to as disgusting and fascist and Nazi-esque as what Kanye West is now out here espousing. And like I said, he actually was genuinely canceled for that. And for good reason. I'm not defending the guy. But Kanye is just taking it to a whole other fucking level.
Yeah, absolutely. So shout out to you, Brian. Oh, shout out to you, Jeff. Love you too. Love you, comrades. Hope you get more exposure. The problem with me and Gavin is that we've been exposed. We're just very unlikable. No, I'm kidding, of course.
Oh, we had that exposure. People said nope. No, I'm just kidding. We really appreciate it, Jeff. I also hope we get more exposure. That would be dope. But we're riding with our crew of 250 or so Vanguard listeners. We're digging the community we've built here. We like the fact that you guys are open to our often unpopular opinions. So we really appreciate you guys for riding with us, including you, Jeff. Thank you so much for the generous super chat. We really appreciate the kind words. Thank you so much for that. It means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to you, Jeff. And yeah, you know what? I always say we have the best chat on BreadTube, and I definitely mean it. I think we literally have the best, most consistent group of a couple hundred of you guys that are always live with us when we're live, which is impressive considering how we give you like zero notice when we're going to go live. So really appreciate the hardcores in there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jeff. We really genuinely appreciate that super chat. It's very generous of you. And like I said, the kind words do mean so much. And also, it looks like we got Brittany coming back here with another super chat, 343. Great show, guys. Thoughts on Sunday's game, Zach?
Yeah, Brittany, I don't know if you caught this. I shouted you out at the beginning of our live stream because I did know I was going to have to eat a shit sandwich today after all of the fucking shit talking I did on the stream the other day. Look, man, you guys have come a long way from week one. When you guys have that loss to the Steelers, who are a fucking dog shit team right now at the beginning of the season, there were all the interceptions. I was like, you know what? We're going to eat Cincinnati for lunch when we go over there. But it's hard to play in Cincinnati. I'll give you guys that. The Chiefs played like absolute shit in the red zone. Oh my God, that was the most frustrating thing in the world was our red zone production has to be solved. We are not going to be an elite football team if we cannot convert in the red zone for fucking touchdowns. That's just an impossibility. That is what we fucking had going for us, is that we were a touchdown team. We were not a settle for less team. And the second you become a settle for field goal teams, I get fucking triggered because I remember all 15 fucking years of watching the Chiefs fucking just be terrible. Over my entire, I get fucking flashbacks to that, so it triggers me. So yeah, you were, great game. It was a good game, but couldn't get Travis Kelce productive either. Fucking one of the few games I've ever seen where he didn't have a single catch in the first half. Just all kinds of bad decisions, and you guys played tough. The fucking Cincinnati Bengals are a tough football team. They play every fucking snap. So it was a good game.
Was that who the Chiefs lost to? The Bengals? They got draxed.
Yeah, can you believe that shit? We lost to fucking Cincinnati. Like, what the fuck year is it? Are you fucking kidding me? We lost to Cincinnati last year in the AFC Championship too, the fucking dirty bastards.
Damn. Yeah, I haven't been paying attention because I've been in New Orleans. And speaking of, by the way, I wanted to bring that up because we were just talking about Kanye's quote about George Bush hates black people. Being in New Orleans, I was thinking about that. And apparently George Bush himself was actually in town in New Orleans not that long ago, like doing some speaking event or something. And I was like, how the fuck does this guy, how is he showing his face in the city? Imagine you're George Bush and you're waltzing into New Orleans.
Yeah, somebody should throw their shoe at him.
Absolutely. But thank you so much, Brittany. Really do appreciate that. That's really sweet of you. And thank you so much, Jerk Dadass, once again. Everyone's already said it, but the effing Alex Jones interview is insane, especially the prop comedy stuff with the net. Yeah, Truly some of the most unhinged clips I've ever seen. The fact that he was wearing that like fucking black mask, you couldn't even see him.
The
And he
condom.
had, yeah, and he had that net, and he had the like chocolate milk, like the Yoo-hoo, and he was like, it's net and Yahoo or something, and he kept making weird jokes about it and references to it. I was like, what the fuck am I watching? This is truly the most unhinged shit I've ever seen, especially from a high profile celebrity. Not just a high profile celebrity, one of the most famous musicians in America of our lifetime.
Probably, if you look at album sales and cultural impact, one of the like top 100 most influential artists of all time, actually, in American recording history. So, absolutely insane. Okay, let me tell you this. Like, I don't. Never mind. I'm not going to give Kanye any more shine and tell you about his musical accomplishments. Fuck that. But anyway, the humor that he was imposing on Infowars, I can literally imagine that pitch meeting going downwards. Just Nick Fuentes and those like disgusting Bass Pro Shop sunglasses that he always wears around, and then just like cackling and being like, look, it's a net and it's a Yahoo, net and Yahoo. You know, like that just kind of like fucking 14-year-old boy snicker that he has that just makes you want to run over him with your fucking car. I could just see him being in Ye's ear, and Ye's like, yeah. And then just goes and does it because he's a fucking, I don't know, brain dead, delusional, fucking crazy person. But yeah, we've all been blown away by basically every frame of that entire experience. Jerk Dad ass. Really appreciate the $4.99 though.
Absolutely. And it's extra funny given the fact that Jackson Hinkle, who's a defender of Kanye West, was recently saying that Netanyahu was based or something crazy like that. Did you see that clip, Zach?
No. Cheerleader of fucking apartheid in Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, about to fucking finesse a fucking far-right coalition with the rest of the fucking government in Israel. Now that he's not PM, he's just a fucking like power broker over there. Yes. Oh my God. He's literally, this man is proudly touting a picture of himself with with Jordan Peterson. You guys, we called this from miles and miles away. Y'all mauled it in our chat. This was amazing. I can't believe it's finally this out of the bag.
Oh, it's so obvious now. And sorry, I meant Yoo-hoo, not Yahoo. I don't drink milk. But anyway, yeah, let's take a quick listen to this.
You know who else has a good working relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu? Vladimir Putin has a very good working relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm actually happier that for the sake of, the multipolar world order, that he is in power right now compared to the previous coalition in Israel. Xi Jinping of the Communist Party of China has a good working relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu, better than the previous coalition. You know who else has a good working relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu? Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, so he might have sacrificed his ability to get in with the Nick Fuentes crowd based on that clip, because that's clearly what he's angling for. But yeah, that's the level of analysis you're going to get from that fucking loser.
This is what's so funny, because he's completely like without ideology, right? Because for a while he was like sucking on the teats of the gray zone guys like Aaron Mate and Max Blumenthal, like, and now you're gonna lose those dudes who were like his number one like chief supporters. Like Aaron Mate never fucking shied away from a chance to defend and fucking bat away criticism of Jackson Hinkle. And yet now look at what's happened. Everybody was right but you guys. Now this guy is putting up Benjamin Netanyahu, architect of apartheid in fucking Gaza and the West Bank. Okay. And it was ruthless, just as ruthless, if not more ruthless than anybody in the United States government about how he treated and viewed the Palestinians. And that's just the reality of it. That's the cold-blooded truth. So to go from being the kind of guy who was, challenging Vosh to debates about, like, is even Vosh or like, all kinds of stuff about like, you're not pro-Palestine enough, to go around and just do this complete 180. Like anybody that takes you seriously has to be just the most dumber than the dumb person, and they have to live for the gratification of just hearing somebody else say the things that they already have been programmed to believe, all while bemoaning the fact that everybody else just regurgitates what the television says. This is the chaotic head fake of the unique internet demographic that Jackson Hinkle has zoned in on. It's very interesting, but hey, he's everybody's favorite 23-year-old, 65-year-old, I guess.
Exactly.
Did you see the clip where he said he doesn't believe in genes? You've been lied to by Vaush and Sam Cedar that, the genes are real.
Oh my God. No, I have not.
I got to find that real quick, but keep.
Also, thank you so much, Brian, for the 199. Thoughts on SC as the first Democratic president? Oh yeah, I did hear something about that. I guess South Carolina is going to be the new first state. Did you hear about that, Zach?
I did hear about that, actually, and I think that it makes a lot of sense because they're desperate to make it look like Joe Biden is a competent candidate again, and they're willing to do absolutely everything and torch the entire infrastructure in Iowa for everybody so that the first state isn't an embarrassment for fucking Joe Biden should anybody try and challenge him. And I don't know. It doesn't really make much sense. I mean, I don't think he's going to face a legitimate challenger anyway. So I'm not sure. I mean, it didn't make a huge amount of sense to me, but it's clearly they wanted it to be somewhere where a guy like Joe Biden, in the future can be more successful there because he just got embarrassed through the first 3 states of Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada. And then it wasn't until South Carolina that he was able to turn it around. And then when, the entire fucking mainstream of the Democratic Party, Barack Obama made his famous phone calls to tell everybody to drop out of the race so they could all coalesce behind Joe Biden. They don't want to have that embarrassment again. They want to secure the fucking bag, right? They don't want to have the curveball like Jimmy Carter spend a year in fucking Iowa again and be able to secure the presidency. Now, obviously, Jimmy Carter decided to play inside baseball and he was not a base commie, but that's the last time that something truly crazy like that happened that came to mind.
Absolutely. Basically, regardless of Joe Biden, they know that South Carolina is a more centrist state as far as who they vote for. That's been proven. They voted for Hillary. They voted for Biden, overwhelmingly so. So I think they want to lock that down going forward when it comes to Democratic presidential primaries. After watching Bernie Sanders barnstorm Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada, they want to make sure a centrist state has the first say. And, I don't know why South Carolina seems to skew in a more establishment centrist direction, but for whatever reason, it does. And they want to make sure that whoever wins that first state will have the momentum. And that does look like it's going to be a centrist kind of candidate like Joe Biden. So it makes all the sense in the world. But it's pretty crazy. And it's pretty blatant too, what's going on, given the fact that that was Joe Biden's stronghold.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, is it really going to matter a ton? I don't know. The Democrats are just once again revealing how much they don't like democracy, right? They're just trying to put their thumb on the scale in any way that they can, and this is pretty transparent. But it just still mean that lefties, if you want to compete, you'll have to get out the vote in South Carolina early, and that's not a bad thing because it is a much more diverse state than Iowa. That much is true.
That is true. And obviously, Bernie Sanders winning the first 3 states in 2020, Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada, clearly didn't matter all that much at the end of the day because he ultimately lost the primary. So, even if South Carolina votes first, it might not ultimately matter, but it's still meaningful. And it shows that the Democrats are totally trying to rig it in favor of more centrist establishment candidates like Mr. Joe Biden. So thank you so much, Brian. And once again, also thank you again for the 199. At some point, Hinkle will run out of cons to run. I don't know, man. He seems to be a pretty expert con man. I don't know if he's going to run out. He's just going to keep grifting that right wing audience and, doing it pretty well.
Yeah, that's the thing, guys, is that it's really easy to just go out there and just jerk off the fucking right wing, the boomer population of people that just are desperate for any young person to be as fucking brain dead as they are, and just regurgitate shit about how, oh yeah, I'm searching so hard without getting too distracted for this Gene clip of Jackson Hinkle, because he immediately plows into how genes came up or created as a concept by the Maslow guy. Or whatever, or whatever not Maslow, who was the fucking guy that came up with genes? Chat's gonna roast me. I don't care. That guy, the fucking guy that discovered genetic patterns and shit. I learned about him in.
I don't fucking know.
Yeah, whatever the fucking guy's name was. Somebody in chat will know. Anyway, he starts talking about how that was supposed to be a replacement for God, and I'm just like, bro, I know where this is going. You're going to try, you might as well just become an online televangelist. You're just going for that really vulnerable population of people that they don't think any young people believe in God. They don't think there are any young people that are conservative enough, and yada yada yada. You found the most fucking sick people on the internet. When Chris Hedges talks about the brain rot of our fucking country and how it's impacting people psychologically. Those are the people that Jackson has triangulated on to be his demographic. Okay, he has gone after the most mentally unwell fuckers on the internet. Like, you can barely use a keyboard and access your credit card. That's who he wants watching him. Okay, like that is who it is, and he will just fucking. I swear to God, in our first takedown of Jackson Hinkle ever, I said he is a finger in the wind leftist. You can find it and look at it, and it is so true. That's all he does, is he fucking finger points where the most money is, the most attention is, and he doesn't give a fuck about what kind of harm he's a textbook narcissist, and all he cares about is his own gratification and his clout. And God, I hope that he snaps out of it someday. And so when he's like 35, he can just be deeply embarrassed and ashamed of everything he spent his early 20s doing. But for right now, it seems like this dude's just going to continue to fucking spank everybody and get like hundreds of thousands of views and clicks. Yeah, just continue to ride that wave of fucking absolute grifting.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Also, Michael wants to clarify that he was just kidding about Richard Linklater. You might remember that from the other day. Michael talking shit on the great Richard Linklater. So thank you for clearing that up, Michael. We forgive you.
Oh, I also saw him talking some shit on Richard Linklater today. He was trying to reignite that beef, but we gave him the cold shoulder, Gavin, and he's come back around. He's reevaluated his position on it. I see. You're still, you know what? You're still sitting in timeout, Michael. You're still sitting in timeout. We'll try again tomorrow.
Yeah, we're lucky we didn't ban you, Michael. No, I'm just kidding. We always appreciate your humor.
Also, I would pay so much money to see that Ivy by E. You have no idea. I've known Gavin almost my whole life. It feels like he's never been much of a scrapper, but I'll train him. I'll be his corner man and his cut man. I'll be in there. I'll be like, Gavin, got to get your hands up. And you know what? He's a better kicker than you would expect. He's got long legs. I think we could work something out. I'll do color commentary on the side from the stool. You know what I mean? There would be some clicks in that, Gavin. There you go. You know what? Jackson will be training like fighting bears and shit, and you in Russia. I don't know.
Yeah, we can make that a Patreon only event, an exclusive patron event. So hit up the patron, guys. You never know what's going to happen. Patreon.com/the Vanguard channel. Links in the description as always. You never know what's going to come your way. The fight guard. Yeah, absolutely. On that note, I don't think we have much else to talk about today, Zach. Is there anything else you wanted to get into?
Not really. We kind of said everything I wanted to say about. We told a few people that we would make comments on the Twitter Elon Musk, Matt Taibbi dump, and really all I wanted to add to that was that there was I went through it and there was nothing that I would not expect a corporation to do, right? Like, all these people at Twitter, they did conspire to remove things. If it was like, and honestly, I felt like Kyle did a good job breaking this down if anybody wants to watch a really long video about it. But I mean, look, revenge porn, pretty easy to fucking say. I don't think that should have a place on Twitter. Like, I don't mind that they said, hey, we're not having revenge porn that this guy clearly doesn't want on our fucking platform, and Gavin and I have covered the New York Post censorship of the actual laptop in that criminalia the same way for the past fucking 14 months since that was a relevant story. And it comes back to the fact that like that was 100% a concerted effort to protect Joe Biden's campaign. I don't agree with that, but again, this all comes back down to a critique of capitalism, which most of the people who are outraged about this don't want to fucking hear. So it just seems like fucking misplaced hysteria. It's like you don't want to address the root of this problem, which is that these corporations have too much power. And instead you just want to find like fringe esoteric reasons to be pissed off at something that every single fucking administration does, which is try and protect itself and fucking give handouts to the children of the people who are involved. That's nepotism, baby. That's as old as apple pie in this country.
100%. Yeah, I feel similarly. And, we were talking a little bit about Glenn earlier too, and what he actually would propose as a solution to some of these free speech issues as it relates to Twitter. Would love to chat with him on the cast about those issues, pick his brain a little bit, like you said, Zach, about what exactly his solutions would be, or the solutions he would propose as far as imposing First Amendment standards on a private corporation like Twitter, because it's clearly pretty impossible, even with someone who's a self-reported free speech absolutist at the wheel. It's not going to happen as long as capitalism is in control, as long as these companies are dictated by the edicts of a private corporation, the shareholders. We're not going to get free speech on these platforms. So I would be really interested to hear his opinion on that and pick his brain a little bit further. Maybe we can make that happen. But either way, I thought we had a fascinating conversation today. Really appreciate you all for tuning in. Always, of course, appreciated the super chats and your guys' commentary in the chat. So thanks a lot for tuning in. And unless you have anything else to add, Zach, we can shout out the patrons.
Yeah, let's shout out those goodly people that keep our lights on in the Casa del Vanguard. Shout out to all of you comrades, Vanguardians, super Vanguardians. Of course, you're all comrades to us, but we like to give a special shout out to the patron community at the beginning and end of every live stream because they keep the wheels on our proverbial van going round and round and keeping Gavin and I coming at you guys on a very regular basis. So shout out to the Patreon community. We could not do this without you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for the support. We really appreciate it. Hit up that link in the description. It's patreon.com/the Vanguard channel. If you'd like to support the work we do, if you enjoy our commentary, we really do appreciate the support from our patrons. You can get your own name up there on the shout out screen, in addition to access to our Discord community, plus early priority on our patron Q&As, which happen every month. So those are some of the benefits we offer. You can find out more by hitting the link in the description below. Even just a couple bucks, $5 a month really goes a long way. So thank you guys so much for the support. We appreciate it. We wouldn't be able to do the show without you. And that's why we like to start and end all of our live streams with a big old shout out. A sincere thank you to the patrons for supporting the show and making what we do possible. And of course, thank you also to everyone that tuned in today. We really appreciate it. Hitting that like button and just, clicking on our videos is a great way to support the show as well, of course. So we appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Thank you for being a part of our community. This was a great episode. We'll be back potentially tomorrow, if not in the next couple of days. I apologize if there was any internet issues today. Hopefully I can get an Ethernet cord over here so that won't happen again. But either way, we appreciate you guys bearing with us, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, also, I forgot to tell everybody that I did get approved for a legal marijuana license. So fuck yeah,
Hey.
the tides are turning over here in the Midwest. This is something I have been putting off forever, and now pretty soon we will not be getting the poison from the regular market, as Gavin calls it. We will only be getting the lab-grown, official, medicinal, quality cannabis. So anyway, shout out to us.
Yeah, and now we can smoke in our apartment without being harangued by these fascist fucking landlords. Oh, you can't smoke? Well, guess what, bitch? I'm a medical patient, or at least Zach is. So that's exciting. Although, as I was pointing out earlier, recreational cannabis will go into effect in literally like 2 months in Missouri. So it's pretty funny that you decided to finally get around to applying for that right before legalization actually goes into effect.
I know. I finally got a fucking Missouri driver's license. So that's like one of the requirements to have it. They sent it to me finally. So I was like, oh, fuck, now I can just get one of these. But anyway, if anybody is curious about how the process goes, you tell them you have a headache and they fucking rubber stamp you. So it's actually not that fucking big of a hassle as you might expect. But anyway, I'll let Gavin get the fuck out of here. I'm also going to go cook some dinner. Good gabbing with you. And yeah, if we have some shit to talk about, I think Gavin and I will be back tomorrow. It was a good time.
Absolutely great time. And shout out to you, Brittany. No hard feelings. We really appreciate you.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next time.
Peace out. Have a good one.